My family are the bestest sluts around.
In keeping up with animated movie trailers, even the international ones, a new one has appeared from Australia, and it opens up a whole nother corner of the animation industry I wasn't aware of before. This is the Sloth lane. I kind of feel like I'm meant to say that with a bit of an accent, since I assume it's a parody on the slow lane, although I don't think this creature's ever been called a sloth before. Do Australians say sloth instead of sloth? I mean, maybe that makes sense. Even though the British and American accents say you have to say sloth, I guess sloth does work. And this looks to be an incredibly charming and wholesome movie that I've actually got a lot of high hopes for. I mean, just look at the visuals shuffled behind you. It kind of has a similar, almost kind of claymation vibe, but clearly done with CGI. On a vaguely technical front, you can see that it's animated on 2s for the most part, and that's probably where the stop motion vibes come in, but even just like the designs really work quite nicely. They're following some sort of rule set that keeps, hair very static, and it works. I actually really like the aesthetics for this movie.
We've got ourselves a new bowler.
And I love the use of lighting in certain shots that have like a bloom onto things. Sometimes you don't need an over-the-top Hollywood-style budget to create something that looks visually interesting or even stunning, you could argue. And I think, although I can't see the actual numbers for the budget for this movie, I am very much on board with the aesthetics of this movie. Now, as a brief synopsis of this plot to understand what you could expect of this movie, the main one I can find is, after a terrifying storm destroys their home, a speedy sloth named Laura and her kooky family are forced to move to the big city with nothing but their prized family recipe book and a rusted old food truck. The family's delicious food soon catches the eye of a quick-witted cheater named Dottie, who will stop at nothing to revive her failing fast food business, Zoom Fuel. This, in a lot of ways, is, alright. While I think visually it's a nice, slightly new look that I'm quite interested to see for its claymation, wholesome Aardman vibes, I personally don't think the writing so far has been very creative. I'll also be playing clips of the trailer throughout this video, and you can see the same tropes that are coming up, right? It's very much, we are a family business. You must come in, my daughter. Oh no, but I don't want the family business, mother. That kind of thing. There's even another point at the very end of the trailer of a kid doing a freedom protest, but it's just a cliche line.
They may take our tacos, but they will never take our freedom.
I think I'm always going to be a little bit more on board when it's an international film, since Hollywood is Hollywood, They don't really have the excuse to be so unoriginal. I'm just glad to see a success that's starting to burgeon out overseas. And I can get around to enjoying the movie in a moment, even if it's been done before. This is a kid's movie. It's meant to be somebody's first experience, I guess. And it does look to be a nice family story, I could already tell there's a lot of charm and chemistry that they're going to build with the kooky family of 4.
Delicious!
Not to mention, that almost looks like there's going to be build-ups of some kind of ASMR food eating sequences, which, we love that in Studio Ghibli, so I'd absolutely adore it to be here. The rest of the plotline you can kind of understand from the trailer, basically spoiling the entire plot. Dottie the cheater will end up taking the family recipe book from Laura, the main protagonist, and then they go on a heist to get it all back. Fine, yeah, have fun along the way. But what I found really interesting about this movie is this is just the tip of the iceberg. As it turns out, this movie is part of a cinematic universe. Seriously. I only found this out like 3 articles deep into researching all the production details of this movie, but yeah, this is attached to a franchise known as Tales from Sanctuary City. And essentially, it's the big city that this small rural family moved to has its own set of rules that other movies have taken place in. It's the city that's the cinematic centerpiece. Now, all of these movies that are attached to Sanctuary City have been made by the same production studio, which is the same for this one, like A Photon Creative. In the past, we've had The Wishmash Tree in 2020, Combat Wombat in 2020, Daisy Coca, World's Scariest Animal in 2021, and Combat Wombat back-to-back in 2024. Again, all of these movies I never even heard of before, or I never noticed them for sure. I mean, just a few months back, earlier in 2024, Combat Wombat 2 released. I'll get around to watching whatever hell that is. That's interesting. That being said, this franchise cinematic universe that this is attached to hasn't really gone off perfectly straight off from the bat. The first movie, Wishmash Tree, had negative responses on reviews, and then everything else since then has been mixed to positive. And I could kind of see this movie falling into that again. It seems very wholesome and nice, but it also seems very cliche and retrodden steps. But it does stand out from the crowd in this cinematic universe. All the past Sanctuary City movies were directed by Ricard Couso. This time, there's simply a secondary director, with the main upfront one being Tania Vincent. Perhaps now with a new front-running director, or just co-director, I can't tell if it's 50-50 or a little bit primary-secondary based, perhaps this movie will have a little edge against all the others.
You gave me your family's recipes.
Hey there, thank you for making halfway through this video. This is just a quick plug to tell you to subscribe if you haven't already, as we try and cover practically every animated movie trailer coming out this year. Or if there are other trailers you'd like to direct to me, do let me know on our Discord server. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of our dissection of the news around the Sloth lane. Now, beyond just being a pretty decent looking trailer with a nice international story going on, it actually has all sorts of benefits as well when it comes to its release, as this is first getting its world premiere at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival, but via a brand new presentation they have called the Official Selection of Annecy Presents. So it is literally being put on a pedestal as, hey, check out this new production, which is just fantastic to see. I gotta get around to saving up some money to go to the Annecy Film Festival myself, especially if this is an animation-specific one. I'll work on it for next year. And then further to that, after its world premiere, it'll be getting its domestic premiere in Australia at the Sydney Film Festival. I've also heard descriptions of this kind of animation being called an Aussie-mation, which is just brilliant. Now, A Photon Creative are also Brisbane-based, hence why it's very clearly a very Australian movie. Although, as usual, there's multiple companies with multiple fingers inside every single pie, so there's a completely different distributing company called Solar Media handling worldwide sales and like the US market and all that. Apparently, after recently acquiring the rights for the next 3 animated feature films in the Sanctuary City franchise. Man, they are really running with this cinematic universe, and I'll be honest, I think it kind of works. Just having it be a city with animals that everyone just comes towards seems nice. I don't know if characters appear in the background, but I'd love it all the same.
Oh, my eyebrow! Mija, a little help!
And actually, a marketing quote we have from the managing director at Solar Media, Solveig Langeland, says, "We have very much been looking forward to meeting the adorable family of sloths. Their journey to the fast-paced world of Sanctuary City with their slow food truck entertains with humor, emotions, and a timely message. We're expecting international buyers to move fast on our slow sloth." Interesting, a timely message. I'll be curious to hear what that is. And to be fair, actually, even a food truck story, I kind of am a big fan of. There's an indie animation on YouTube that I recently discovered that is all about rivaling food truck vendor stalls. Although that's all about clowns, still very much on board with that kind of vibe. Although it's a very different vibe, but still, it's in there. It's in my long-term brain of things I've watched. Now, as for cast, of course, there's a good chunk of Australian representation, but also some people you may recognize along the side. Leslie Jones is the villain cheetah and fast food mogul, previously doing, you know, the likes of Sing, Ghostbusters, and Angry Birds 2. You got Olivia Vasquez from Thor Love and Thunder as the mother. Tio Vergara from Turn Up the Volume and Crazy Fun Park as the main protagonist Laura. Ben Garano, who is Louise, the big lovable sloth who gives the best hugs, apparently. Facundo Herrera as Manny, the true sloth of the family, which I guess they mean he's slow. I hope so. What makes him more slothy than the others? And then you've got Remy He from Spider-Man Far From Home and Crazy Rich Asians as the sidekick technician, Platty the Platypus. Oh, and then one other notable one, Dan Brum from Bluey and All Combat Wombat back-to-back, reprising their role from other Tales from Sanctuary City films as the voice of Chief Furbank. So not only is that the way they're going to stitch all of these movies together, I guess there's one recurrent character, that's nice to see, but also this guy's previously done stuff at Bluey, clearly demonstrating that if anyone's able to handle kids media the best, it's Australia. They are mastering it. And now that Bluey is over, I guess it's time for something else to fill the void. This doesn't exactly do that, but it seems to be at least very good kids entertainment on a more basic front.
Hey,
Another quote I find is, just describing it as a story of self-discovery, family, and friendship. Now, as much as I said that the budget is probably pretty good and efficient, there is actually some background stuff with more companies and production details about how this is funded, as apparently this is supported by Screen Queensland's PDV funding, as well as their financier Alkion Entertainment. So really, It needs to raise up some money from other companies to go on, and, you know, it's business. Clearly, it seems to be working out for them to some degree. And attached to that, we then have another marketing point from the Chief Creative Officer at Screen Queensland, Dr. Belinda Burns, saying, "Screen Queensland is proud to support A Photon Creative's latest release through our post-digital and visual effects incentive. This Queensland production company has earned an international reputation for delighting audiences with their captivating animated feature films, and the Sloth lane is an exciting addition to their impressive slate." Anything they could do to sell more tickets of the movie, sure.
This family never gives up.
The only other tiny quotes I have is from Michael Favell, who is from Odin's Eye, who is the usual distributor for all the other Tales of Sanctuary movies, who says, "The Tales of Sanctuary City franchise has been amongst our top-selling titles over the past 18 months, so clearly they found some sort of rhythm and success." Now, I found out about this trailer thanks to somebody on our Discord. Thank you, Okla, for showing me this trailer. And it's taught me that another YouTube channel to stalk for a while on my subscription feed with Maslow Entertainment, who are also handling the Australian cinema release of this movie. Beyond that, other than the world premieres at the film festivals in June, this movie is set for a July 25th release. So give it 2 months and it's already upon us. Classic animated movie stuff. I have high hopes that I'll enjoy this movie. I don't think it's gonna be burgeoning new territory, but maybe it doesn't need to. It's not Hollywood necessarily. I'm just glad to see some more variety of films that will likely come with its own form of diversity and perspectives from creators I otherwise wouldn't have heard from. So I'll keep a note of the release date for this movie. I'll make a review closer to July 25th, but for now, I shall end it off here. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on how you feel about the Sloth lane. Does it look adorable to you, or do you think it's just cliche? I'd love to know your opinions. Bring it to us on our YouTube comments or over on our Discord server, and I shall see you in a little bit.